I don't really like Soifone. Compared to Yoruichi, she's much more hot-tempered, easily provoked, and because of this, she never seems to live up to Yoruichi's standard, and hates Urahara, which everybody loves, and that kind of leads a good amount of people to not really like her, me included. Her Bankai is the epitome of this, her character. The thing with Bankai is that it doesn't matter if they really do grant an actual advantage to their user. It's usually just all about their character. And as we know, Suzumebachi is a bee stinger type of Zanpakuto, a small but effective one. Because just by her body language and how she always acts, she seems like she's always in a rush to prove herself or in a rush to shut her lieutenant up. So it makes sense that her Bankai is an incredibly strong attack that only has one use. In fact, most recently in the 1000-Year Blood War, we see her pop this just out of the blue when Gerard comes into play, exactly to her nature. It's for this reason that people claim that Bankai is the greatest power-up in all of fiction. Super Saiyan makes you more powerful. Bankai is more than that. It's unique to each character, and some characters can't even use it. Most characters can't. And that's what this video is going to be about. Before we get into that, subscribe. I have 668 right now, but you can make it 669 if you press that button. It's a free way to support me, and it'll ring in the new year pretty well. And with that, let's get into everybody's Bankai. So you know what? Spoilers for every Bankai. Something I noticed about Bankai is that the older a character usually is, the more complicated or hard to explain the Bankai is. Because, I mean, they've lived that long, so their character has changed for that long. We can see that reflected in Ichigo Kurosaki's Bankai. Though it has stayed mostly the same, it just keeps on changing form. I mean, at first it's like it's his own spiritual pressure, but then it's like everyone's combined in the Soul Society, more or less. And there was like Final Getsuga Tensho, and then there was like the hollow incorporation into his Bankai permanently. And of everyone in the Gotei 13, we've seen everybody's Bankai except for some Vizards and Ukitake's, which honestly, I feel like if Ukitake's Bankai was revealed, it would be something to do with the Soul King. But let's start off with someone more simple. The first Bankai we saw in the Bleach series, Byakuya Kuchiki's Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi. Early on in Bleach, he's one of the most well-written characters. I remember him saying something to Renji about, and the difference between their two attacks is that Byakuya performs them with class. This also explains why he hates Kenpachi so much. He doesn't have Bankai and doesn't even use Shikai. And that's mainly his whole thing, pride. Even in that one flashback where Yoruichi steals his headband, the first thing he says is that he's going to be the future head of the Kuchiki clan. Senbon Sakura literally moves around him. There's a safe zone to it. Sometimes I feel like the characters in Bleach can be like, you can't really exactly pinpoint what they are or how, like, just their aspects of their character. But the Bankai is like a guarantee of that. It's like, it is them. So it's like you can't really mistake it as something else. And it's almost ironic that Aizen never reveals his own Bankai, because it sort of goes with his character, you know, never showing his true intentions. He could just illusion a Bankai into existence. Let's take a look at Urahara's Bankai. Benihime reconstructs everything because he prepares for every situation, or at least tries to, and his Bankai allows him to do that even more. It's the ultimate preparation. While his Shikai is not talked about enough. He literally harnesses Kido so that he can shoot it in multiple different patterns, and he can switch from defense to offense pretty quickly using it. And if I remember correctly, it might amplify it as well. And he can weld this Reiatsu into many shapes, which makes it so powerful and versatile. A similar Bankai is Mayuri's Asashoki Jizo, and honestly my personal favorite. That big baby that like has whatever amount of drugs and experiments within it, in a myriad of purposes, also mimics Mayuri. While these two individuals have some similarities, them being, you know, the biggest scientists in the Seirei, what I find is that Kisuke's solutions are much more simple and elegant, while Mayuri's are more on the experimental and somewhat psychotic side of things. Mayuri's projects are primarily designed to harm, while Urahara's are for the benefit of most Soul Reapers usually, being the Gigai, and as there are multiple versions of Asashoki Jizo that are for different uses, Kisuke already has fulfilled that purpose with his many inventions and his Bankai. A brilliant solution should be simple, not complex. Now, let's move on to Hyorimaru. Now, as we know, Hitsugaya he's like a child prodigy, more or less. 100-year-old prodigy. And the only thing that's really holding him back is his experience, is time itself. He's able to take the time to hone his skills, and he hones them quickly, thanks, to his benefit. But he knows he can't swallow what he can't chew, which is why Daiguren Hyorimaru has a timer. And when that timer ends, he gets the power that he's not able to fully control, which is why he isn't like that already. He can't fully control it. Gin's a snake. In the same way he slithers away, hides behind your back, and just as fast, he slithers back. Now on to Tosin. It's cause he's freaking blind. And just as blind. Moving on. Captain Komamura has the most disappointing Bankai. I think it's more disappointing than Soiphone's. It is a bad Bankai, I'd say, because every portion of damage that the Bankai takes, he takes it as well. That's so dumb. It would be so much better if he just didn't have that. This is the worst Bankai in the show. Like, I mean, you know, summoning a big dude was like, that was pretty good, okay? But then the whole damage thing, no. And everybody else has an advantage against him because they could just shoot him from up there and then they would hurt the real him. Like, it's just not worth it to rip a Bankai. And the saddest part is that Komamura isn't really that strong by himself anyway. Sure, it is crazy strong. Sure, you do look better after using it, but you don't look better after using it. This was the most pathetic and unnecessary death in the show, bro. Like, just from a, like, war perspective, like, gathering and spending assets type thing. He spent the entire show getting humiliated. Minus Aura. I'm starting to see why Tosin was so caught up in justice. He needed justice for his boy as well. Rose's Bankai is all about music, and they hear the music of the Bankai, and their heart is deceived, and they start seeing illusions because of the music. We honestly don't really know much about Rose individually, honestly. Like, I don't really know what to say about this. I guess he just likes music. Kensei's Bankai is Tekken Tachikaze. It just makes him be able to shoot more punches with more power and more speed. It was wasted potential, I feel. Yes, I'm aware that a lot of people don't remember this guy, but he's goated, trust me. His Bankai reflects how he, you know, has quite a speedy nature. Like, he's always up to do things. Like how he was disappointed that his lieutenant fell to the superstar. On a similar note, Ikkaku's Bankai, the most useless one in the show, just makes his blades bigger and heavier and harder to pick up, reflecting his own urge to just like throw everything else out the window and just fight people, which is very stupid. Even if his blades are heavier, his Bankai literally doesn't even help him. So maybe it is better off that he hides it. He'll end up becoming Komamura number 2 and probably suffer a worse death. I don't know how much lower you can go after turning into a literal dog though. At least it looks cool. You know how mad I would be if I like trained for years to get a Bankai and then it turns out to be whatever this is? Next is Senjimaru's Bankai, which is like she sews whatever she wants into like existence or something like that. And like 3 other people from Squad 0 have to die for a Bankai to activate, which is stupid. Like, you really have to full on kill everybody else. Like, this is not it. If anything, I would just wait for the other Squad 0 members to die, and then why not rip the Bankai? That just makes sense. But this Bankai is similar to Rose's, but like much better. Because if you're deaf, you can still get hit by it. The amazing thing about Senjimaru's Bankai is that it was foreshadowing on like on a different level. We didn't even really know that Basby was a thing with Hashwolf at this time. In fact, it's like a reflection of every character's weakness, basically. And she sews it onto them. Like, Hashwolf's is fire, and Lilibaro gets his own attack reflected at him. Gerard gets frozen. I don't know about the whole armor thing happening to Askin, or Black Sand overcoming the Soul King's right hand. But, yeah. Then there's Rukia's Bankai. It just kind of freezes you. She freezes them, and, but, like, it's pretty elegant in the way that she does it, though. So it's like, but, like, it's real pretty when it happens, because, you know, Rukia does that, and does things in that way, especially when she does, like, keto and things like that. Now, Zanka no Tachi. As Yamamoto's character has refined over the years, so has his Bankai. He's had more time than almost anyone else to do it. Zanka no Tachi East is when he focuses all the heat of his blade into the tip of it. Anything that touches it gets immediately boiled, immediately just incinerated. His Bankai is to be a leader, he has to be many things. Therefore, with his Bankai, he's made it so that he has to watch the entirety of the Soul Society, the North, South, East, and the West. But the most important part of it all is that if he uses it for too long, he'll destroy it, which only puts his mastery on a higher pedestal. West engulfs his body into flames that are with a heat that is 15 degrees. 15 with 6 zeros. Zanka no Tachi South, where he summons the fallen corpses of everyone he's beaten to attack whoever he's using his Bankai on. And then finally, Zanka no Tachi North, where he finally slices the opponent with all his might. And this makes me realize that I don't think I thought it was different Bankais he was using at once, but actually no. I think it was kind of like Shunsui's Bankai, where it's like, where there are multiple stages to it. So it's like he's covering the entire perimeter of the Soul Society, of his watch. Speaking of that, Shunsui's Bankai, don't tell me the name, okay, I can remember it. Katen Kyotsu Karamatsu Shinju. We all know Shunsui, like, he's kind of he likes to chill, man. But he is the strongest. Obviously second to Yama, and maybe his lieutenant, who refused the seat of captain. He likes to play games, he's a womanizer. The whole games thing really suits him, actually. And his Bankai being a theater show perfectly suits him as well. But it kind of kills him too, so it's not really worth it, unless it's really urgent. Which, fighting this thing, it really was. Now, Shinji's. He literally has a way of turning things upside down. It's like he's some sort of agent of chaos. When I really pay attention to it, there's this one scene in Turn Back the Pendulum arc where Shinji's making this crazy face and Aizen's like, "Captain, please don't." And that's what made me realize that he's really the only character who brought this type of, like, energy to the Gotei 13. Like, nobody really would do that. The only person who comes to mind is, like, maybe, like, Rangiku, maybe. He has a way of getting under everybody's skin. In fact, you probably didn't like him at first when he entered the series, as most people don't, but you grow to love him. And his method of turning things around is only seen more with the whole introduction of the Vizards. And I save these two for last. Unohana, who uses her Bankai, Minazuki, one that flashes visions of losing to her multiple times whilst you're fighting her. This is perfect, as, we don't really know Unohana is, that Unohana, up until the 1,000-Year Blood War of Bleach. There are multiple points where Unohana has, like, this striking presence among the other Soul Reapers, or she threatens Ichigo, and things like that. And there's this vague relationship with Kenpachi that, they both love to fight, and they starve for the heat of battle, especially with each other, as they're equals, which kind of implies how old Kenpachi really is. I mean, Unohana was in her heyday, and Kenpachi was a kid. And finally, Kenpachi's Bankai, that being Yachiru, as Yachiru used to be Unohana's last name. So it's as if Zaraki named his Bankai, or his Zanpakuto, after the person he most respected and cherished. And Unohana met Kenpachi when he was just a kid, so this could be considered a motherly act of making sure her quote-unquote son is strong enough to save the Soul Society, sacrificing herself for the good of the Soul Society. And finally, Kenpachi's Bankai was awakened by realizing this, and what Yachiru is. Also, his Zanpakuto spirit is so strong that other people can see it, and it was a lieutenant. So it's kind of like he mixed the powers of a lieutenant and a captain together to beat Gerard, which is crazy. That's it for this video. Subscribe if you liked it. I'm going to be making one more Bleach video after this, and then that's probably going to be it. It's going to be a sequel to Death's Significance to my last Bleach video, which I recommend you see before that one comes out. And yeah, where I'll be going over every death in Bleach, which is literally a spoiler as well, and how it relates back to the Espada. As you know, the Espada were not a waste. Some people think the Espada were a waste, and they definitely weren't. That's what that video is going to be about, so subscribe if you haven't. I have 668 right now, but you can make it 669 if you press that button. And yeah, thanks for watching. Oh, and one more thing. Bankai.